Welcome to Builds with Blocks, a show centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. Yeah, we know they're toys. This is our introduction show, our episode 0, if you will, and we thought it would be make the most sense to introduce each of us on the show, who we are, and our unique take on the hobby associated with products that are currently produced by Mega Brands, Mega Bloks and Mega Construx. We'll then cover off on what to expect from our show, our initial plans for our release schedule, the types of videos we plan to publish, and the types of topics we plan to cover before we dig into our feature for this show, which will be our favorite Halo characters and that have official minifigures. So some of those favorites. So Jenkins might be out there for our favorite, but he doesn't have a minifigure yet, but he might get one down the road. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, and I'm joined by Tom Fishenden. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
And Matt Salvatore.
Ahoy, ahoy. How's it going, guys?
This is fun. We've been talking about this for the past, I don't know, couple weeks, maybe a month or so. We're all enthusiasts of the hobby, and we decided, hey, let's get together. We love Halo. We love the lore. We love the toys. And let's get together and see what we can do and just kind of get the word out there and produce some fun stuff for you. So let's take a moment to go around the horn here and just kind of chat with each other and we actually don't know a ton of each other's history, so this will be a good discussion just to learn a little bit about each other. Tom, how about you? Why don't you start? What kind of how did you get into the hobby why don't you talk about just the hobby in general of kind of brick-based sets and collecting and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of getting into kind of brick-based stuff in general, before I specifically got into Mega Bloks and Mega Construx and kind of the Halo universe, I was really into Lego. Mm-hmm. So for anyone who can't tell by my slightly younger vocal cords, I would say, I am only 20. So I grew up with Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And I remember while I was growing up, I got a lot of the Lego sets from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So that kind of got me into brick-based building. And then I played Halo 3, saw all of the accompanying sets from Halo Wars at the time. So sets like the Gremlin, the Red Troop Transport Warthog, which was the first set I got, and then kind of like dived into the Halo side of the hobby that way.
Very nice. So you've been in it for a little while, and since Halo 3 is when you've been... Yep. Okay. Well, I guess Halo 3 came out in 2007. The sets didn't come out until 2009, so it was pretty much right when the Mega Bloks was coming out with sets, right?
Pretty much, although it was cool because at the time I said when we were chatting the other day, actually, I kind of fell into it by accident because I saw the red transport hog in a local supermarket one day and I was like, oh, this looks cool. So I'd gone out to buy a Lego City police set and instead I ended up buying the transport hog, and that kind of started me down that journey, and it was just really good timing because I think that may have come out like a year after in the second wave, and I had no idea at the time that there were all these other sets out there. So really I was really lucky to start off collecting so early.
Yeah.
And actually, as I'm talking about it, I forgot it happened, but I got really lucky as well, where I entered a competition and I won £100 worth of gift vouchers to spend at a local toy shop.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a chain called The Entertainer, which still goes today. So I was really lucky because I was kind of able to pick up a lot of the sets like the Chopper, the Covenant Troop Pack, the Silver UNSC Troop Pack, all of that kind of stuff right off the bat as well. So I kind of got to amass quite a nice little collection quickly. And as I'm sure you guys know, once you start getting a decent amount of stuff, it gets very addictive and you can't stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Plastic anxiety.
Right. FOMO for the plastic. Matt, why don't you give us a quick overview? How'd you get into it?
Well, okay. So much like Tom, I started out in Lego. I was a huge fan of the Star Wars Legos, still am.
Hmm.
But I actually came across Halo Mega Construct on accident. I was just walking through, I think it was a Target, and I turned the aisle and I came across the first wave. So it was the Warthog and like the B2 turret, and when they were really starting out,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was near Christmas time. So I bought these sets for myself. I bought myself a Christmas present. Uh,
We all
and
do it.
so yeah, so I built them on Christmas, and from there I've just become. I think it was kind of a nice pairing because I had really started to play the games, and I was pairing them with the toys, the Mega Block sets, and so then I remember like sitting on the couch and reading Fall of Reach and First Strike,
Mhm.
and I'd have all my figures around me, and it was like peak Halo time. I was on
Yeah,
like Halo heaven, and so
that's
yeah,
cool.
from there I've never stopped collecting. I have way more than I should.
We all do, right? Once you get into it, yeah. Oh, that's very cool. So, and then Halo, you knew Halo before you started collecting the sets, or
Definitely.
okay.
I had played Halo 3. Halo 3 was the first game that I played. I played it at a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I initially started out with Halo, and then after that was able to track down Halo 1 and 2, and then those were the games that I primarily played because I didn't have a 360 for a long time after, but I would play those, and that's where I kind of cut my teeth in Halo.
Very cool.
Cool.
So my history, I was a big Lego kid way back in the day. And I actually have a couple sets still tucked away in my parents' closet that I just realized. I looked up on eBay, like, oh, these are actually worth some money.
There
I
you
like
go
the
for months.
old castle base, those like the old I forget what the actual name is, but you picture it in your mind like the castles with like little rowboat and stuff like that.
The Kingdom sets.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, I think there was like horses and all that sort of stuff. And then there like the pirates. So I have one of those pirate ships from way back then
Oh,
too.
they're worth
Oh
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are tucked away. I have a train set tucked away. But anyway, I was a huge Lego kid. I played with Legos forever, and still love them. I'm now a father of 3 children, and I guess I never lost the love. I went away from it. Like my mom, I had to tell her to stop buying me Lego sets. For Christmas. I was like, Mom, okay, I'm too old for that. But now like I want her to again, even though I'm like almost 40. But I have 3 kids, and I knew, I love playing with Legos. So, and then I have a deep love for Halo, and I've been doing podcasts for a while now with Mission Debrief and in association with Podcast Evolved. So I discovered that they were making sets, and I hadn't been paying attention for so long until I had the kids, and it was like they were a good excuse to get back into it because I love playing with my kids and I love Halo. So I started buying a couple sets, and then it was just kind of all over with. And so that's only been within the last like year and a half, 2 years that I really gotten into it. And I have amassed quite a bit of sets, and my closets are full, and our storage space is full of stuff that I will slowly break out. My oldest is going to be 6 here pretty soon, so he's really started to get into it too. So it's been fun to kind of bring him along in the love, and yeah, so it's been
Nice.
it's a fun hobby. And, I mainly got into it because I love the Halo lore. I love playing the games too, but I'm more into the extended universe. And I really started with, I think the first one that I actually grabbed was the Halo Heroes Forge.
Nice.
It was yeah, and I wish I would have like known that they existed the entire time, because I'd take a trip through Target and go through toy aisle every once in a while, and I remember seeing certain ones, but then for some reason I just grabbed Forge. I'm like,
Nice.
no,
Nice.
and I remember after that walking past like Prophet of Truth, like picking him up and then putting it down and be like, no, I don't want that. And meanwhile,
Truth is so rare now.
yeah, I know.
I know.
So I wish I would have started collecting when I first picked up Forge, but so I've been playing catch up, and it's been a lot of fun. Let's talk about really quickly about what you guys do in terms of specialization, I guess, within the brick-based Halo sets, all that sort of stuff. So Tom, you do reviews and like video reviews, and I know you have your own YouTube channel. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, from a kind of brick perspective, I am going to be doing reviews within the confines, I say confines, within the context of the podcast. So there's some accompanying content for you all to hopefully enjoy alongside it, and you can get a look at some of the sets we're talking about. But more broadly, when it's not stuff to do with Jurassic Park, I do a lot of toy photography as well. So that's really where kind of all my Halo blocks come in. I'm always taking photos in my garden or trying to use creative lighting setups in my room to get cool photos of all the Mega Construx products that are out there. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for me sharing that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, the photography is great. I remember before we even met, I remember commenting on some of your photos and saying, "Hey, you should get these like published and stuff." And you're like, "Yeah, they already are."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
On the move.
Right. Matt, how about you? What do you create?
Well, I guess mostly what I create with the Mega Construct sets is stop motion animation.
Yeah.
I started with stop motion with Legos, and I was able to branch into the Mega Construct, and I found a lot more range of motion within the figure. So I've really been kind of touching on those. I've done a couple of videos on Halo, so I have a couple of Lego videos too, but mostly I just kind of hit on the stop motion with them.
Yeah, the articulation is, and that's one of the reasons I got hooked when I finally started getting into the sets. I was like, wow, these figures are way better than Lego, and then Lego has like an aesthetic and a charm to them, right?
Yeah.
But
sure.
when you're thinking about meeting some level of realism, I've been following Halo since kind of the release right around Halo 4 is when I first like really dove in, and so then I would pick up some things here and there like some collectibles and some other things, and I had a bunch of the action figure like the full size 6-inch action figures.
Okay, cool.
And those are
Yeah.
McFarlane's and stuff like that, and those are great too. But they also take up a lot of shelf space, and
Yep.
I feel like tie it in with my kids and stuff like that. Just the size of the figures makes so much more sense if I do want to amass a big collection and if I want to get it on display, it's just so much more manageable.
Definitely. And they're actually pretty well detailed, so they can show up great on the video and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
they're
they look really
definitely a
good.
hobby. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, let's see. You also have a podcast, right? Matt?
Oh, yep. I do. I just do a quick little podcast. It's Halo Mega Construct podcast. I just do quick little reviews on the sets, just like my knee jerk reaction to what they look like, and I compare them to previous figures, and so that way I just kind of get my thoughts out on the sets.
Very cool. Let's talk about real quick. Let's go around the horn and say, what was the last set that you grabbed? It could be new, it could be old, whatever it is. It's if you kind of remember what that is. And I think I'm on a little bit of a slow patch because I've collected a lot recently. So I think I remember the last one that I bought. But Tom, do you remember what the last set you grabbed was?
Yeah, it's waiting with a friend in America for me, and it's going to get imported on payday. I have got a bunch of the new Battle for the Ring Combat Evolved blind bags.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I've got 5 of the Combat Evolved Marine, 5 of the Grunt, 4 of the Elite, and 3 of the Elite in the Flood Infection Form pack.
Yes. You didn't get the ship?
No, I didn't want it. I kind of just got the army builders for now, mainly because with Battle for the Ark and also A New Dawn, I never got the ship, so I feel like I've kind of missed the boat with that one.
All right.
So I'm just focusing on.
I know a guy that has a couple extras. If you're really nice.
Ooh.
That would be good.
Cool. Very nice. That's cool. I think I ordered some on that Entertainment Earth website. They just got a box this time because I figured I would just go around and twosie myself to the same price over time. So just send me the box as well. Matt, how about you? What's the last one you got?
Okay, so the last set that I picked up, I actually got off eBay. And if you're a Mega Construct collector, eBay is a dangerous place to bring your credit card because it's tempting there. I mean, there's sets all over. So Usually I go to eBay to grab the sets that I've missed. So I've always had like these white whale sets that I've always been hunting, and I just either for some dumb reason, some temporary insanity, I decided to not pull the trigger on when I found them in a store, and so I'm now tracking them down later. So the set that I just recently got was the Halo 4 style Pelican.
Oh yeah, the gunship.
Nice.
So, yep. So I was tracking that down for a long time, and so I finally got it. It wasn't the complete set, so I did get all the characters and the figures, but it was it was pre-owned, so it was out of box and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I was able to grab it that way, and I'm pretty impressed though. I mean, it came perfectly nice, so I'm very happy to have that now. I've been just doing some kind of custom stuff, and it's a pretty nice build, especially with the lights and sound and everything. And I know that was kind of something that they did have for a little bit, and it kind of disappeared quickly, but it was a kind of a nice little touch that they added. It makes the set a little heavier, but I'm definitely glad I grabbed that one.
Yeah. I think my favourite thing with that set is the way they were able to integrate the mini armories on the side, like you see in the Mission Shutdown. Because obviously they weren't able to put in the full-size weapons, but the way they did it with the SOCOM Magnums and the frag grenades was really, really cool.
Oh, yeah. It's very, very game accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that color green, too.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I kind of miss it compared to the metallic color we've got going now, but you know.
The there was a wave of the lights and sounds. So they did like a warthog, and they did the cobra, and they did a hornet, and then they did that. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, that's it.
I do. Yeah, I have them all.
Ooh.
Somehow,
Jeez,
I haven't opened them all.
Feel like
They're
slacker.
just tucked away.
But
similar thing. eBay, get them in my house, and then put them in the closet for me to break out at some other time. But I am looking at my gunship on my shelf right now, so that's good.
Nice. Mine's behind me right now. That's actually something I've been starting to do, is buying a second box and then just keeping the box in my closet. So I build one set and then I keep one in the box, especially if there are sets that I really like.
Yeah.
So I have a spare.
Yeah, if you have the space for it, I mean that's a good thing. And then if for some reason interest change, they hold their value, so you can pass it on to another collector, right?
Definitely.
The last set that I got, so I have a lot of what I want right now, and all the newer sets I have. I did pick up those exosuits, which are nice, but the last one I grabbed was the Remnant Hunter from the most recent wave. I've been, I'll tool around the local stores, and I've actually left a lot of Remnant Hunters, so they're out there. If you're looking for them, they are out there.
Nice.
I have not been hoarding them. Yeah, they're already rare because there's only 2 in the box.
Yeah, there is.
And you need, for hunters, you need a pair, right? You need to have both. So I did grab one, and I left the other one for another person to find.
That's just cruel to whoever goes back,
Well, somebody will find one. Maybe they already have one. So
your hunter's gonna go insane. It doesn't have its companion.
He already has a buddy. So.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
I
just peeled off one. Anyway.
Nice.
So let's quickly talk about the plans for the show. So this is again our introduction, and we'll put lots more out there for you. But wanted to give a high level what we're going to be up to as we're recording these. Right now we're just doing just podcast kind of voice, and this is on YouTube. But we plan to do a lot of video content for you. So please look forward to that. We're on Podcast Evolved YouTube, so we're in a partnership with Podcast Evolved. That's where my show is for the Mission Debrief, and we plan on doing a show or 2 shows a month is kind of the plan. I mean, there's only so much you can. I mean, I'm sure the 3 of us could talk about Mega Construx for ages, but at the same time, there's not a ton of news out there, and so we thought it would make more sense to have like a twice a month cadence. So we'll try to keep that up for you and bring you that content on a fairly regular basis. But then in between there, Tom and Matt are both, they're content creators in their own right. So they will plan on bringing you maybe some smaller features along kind of in between all there. Does that sound right?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely plan on dropping some stop motion videos on the channel, the Evolve channel.
That'll be great. Yeah. Look forward to that.
Got one in the works right now.
Nice. We'll be doing, so when the new sets come out, we want to do set reviews. In some capacity, they're just talking about them round robin, or maybe those will be some of the smaller videos that we put out there. So it'll be old sets, it'll be new sets, it'll be kind of all across the board. We talked about doing top 10 lists and ranking things for you, because everybody loves lists, right? It's the internet these days. We're bringing you a top 5 list today at the end of this show. So we'll be doing lists. We also are all Halo fans, so we want to make sure, and being that we're on Podcast Evolve, which is a lore-based podcast, we want to make sure there is a lore tie-in in some capacity. So I think a lot of our conversation that we'll have will point out, not only how cool the figures are, but either how accurate they are to the lore, or just other details that we can point out along the way. I think that'll be fun to have those discussions as well.
Most sure.
Let's see. What are the other ideas that we kicked around? Tom, I know we talked about like doing warthogs. Any other ideas that you thought we might cover on?
Yeah. So I suppose a lot of it would be kind of like newly announced sets and stuff that's coming up, because obviously we've just had New York Toy Fair, where we've seen a lot of Halo Infinite goodness, which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
So whenever stuff like that comes around, I imagine we'll do shows just breaking down the newest reveals and what kind of products are coming up for the line. So yeah, look out for that kind of stuff. I mean, anyone who is a big fan of Mega Construx is probably on the Mega Construx forums, and Kevin over there from the MCX team always does a great job of teasing new stuff.
He does.
So we kind of try and keep informed of what he's teasing and what's coming, so then we can layer that into our discussions and kind of touch on what should be coming up in the lineup as well.
What other topics have you had in mind, Matt, for the show?
I think we were also discussing, talking about just obviously Mega Construct has made a plethora of the same character, but just different versions. So just talking about which ones we preferred and which ones, so just like a specific character, like there's dozens of Arbiter figures. So just kind of breaking down which characters we like. I definitely like the idea of discussing just like custom builds. Yeah. So if like, I know there's some things in the Mega Construct sets that just kind of don't make a lot of sense, and maybe they don't connect to actually how the in-game experience looks. So we do a little custom tweak to make it a little better. So I'd like to discuss maybe some of your what you guys have customized or changed a little bit or just taken out.
That's
some
great,
things are there that don't make any sense.
Absolutely. Another idea I had is, there are a lot of content creators out there. It'd be fun to just do hey, let's look at all this cool stuff that people have released, all these community creations over the last, month or whatnot.
Shout out to Gabriel Clem.
Okay.
Talk
more about that.
So Gabe goes by G Customs.
Okay.
So I'm sure you'll be familiar with him, Colin. And he does a lot of custom painted and custom sculpted Mega Construx figures. So
yep. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. One of the recent ones that he's debuted in Gabe, I am so sorry. It is 4:30 a.m. in the morning for me right now, and my brain is barely functioning. But he did, and this is the level of Halo description I can get to, which is shameful for a lore channel. But he did the Blue Elite from the Halo 3 co-op campaign.
Okay.
I think
yes.
I want to say Vita Schraum.
The companion, to RB. Yeah, I can't think of his name right now, but he does have a name in the universe.
Yes, he does.
Cool. Yep.
Because the other one's Nitsa, isn't it? Or I'm gonna stop myself there because I'm gonna just get the name wrong. But anyway,
you're doing better than me, man.
He did that figure recently, which is obviously a combat elite. But then he's done some other really, really cool stuff like Shipmaster from Halo 2 Anniversary.
Yeah, he still needs a figure, man.
Yeah, he really does.
Yes, he does. Ertos.
Half job. Yep.
And also Miranda Keys, who hasn't got a figure yet.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of really, really cool customs. And
they are
he
breathtaking.
Missions, and is just always sharing lots of really, really cool stuff. And he was actually one of the content creators who got to reveal one of the new Mega Construct sets as well. I think he revealed the Warthog. So yeah, he is just a really, really cool member of the community. He's always really active, always game for talking about Mega Construx, and definitely deserves a spotlight.
Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we could do, just interviews with content creators too.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
we can
Right,
take this all
definitely.
sorts of way. So, and we'd love to hear from you too. So, reach out to us, either reply to this video or send us a shout out on Twitter to the Podcast Evolved handle. Let us know what you want us to cover, and we would happily do it. I think Matt also talked about it is like all the different figures, but like, I mentioned at the top of this, all the warthogs. Like let's go through all the warthogs, and like there's so many of them. It'd be fun to just talk about our thoughts and our favorites and things like that, and or just do like a covenant show where we just talk about all the sets that have been put out there for the Covenant, or the Forerunners and the Prometheans and all that. So yeah, we have lots of stuff to talk about. It'll be fun.
Our least favorite set.
Our least favorite set. We could definitely do that.
There you go.
Yep. We could just list off every minifigure, just go down the list. Everyone that's ever been released.
Just alternate. So one of us says one of us says the next one, and just do that for like 3 hours.
And it's crazy. It's crazy to think of all the figures they've released, and we don't even have, like you guys were mentioning, Miranda or even some of the key players in Halo.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I know we just got it. We just got our Jacob keys, so.
Mm-hmm. We just got
I just want my Beamish the janitor figure, damn it.
I bet you Frank will he'll want to get that one out there before too long.
Yeah, I know, man. That's a classic.
Very cool. So yeah, we look forward to producing those shows for you. There will be lots to talk about. So let's get into our main topic about our favorite. So what we're going to cover is the favorite Halo character that has a minifigure, and then we're gonna pull out our favorite of the versions that have been released, and we're just going to go round robin. We'll talk about any the features or the reasons that we like them, or the reasons that we like their character, and then we'll have a nice little discussion here to go through. Tom, why don't you start? So we'll start at the bottom of our list. We're doing top fives. Tom, I see you have a sixth one. Do you want to mention? Could you not decide here between 5 and 6?
Oh wow! I've only just clicked that myself. Do you know what? We'll ignore 6.
We have an honorable mention section at the end, so we can talk about.
Yeah,
move 6 down there.
I'll do a copy and paste job quickly.
Okay.
On the show notes, and just move that around. Can you guys tell it's early? Have I mentioned that?
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Right. Okay. So
you're doing good though.
Jeez. At number 5, I have got Spartan Jameson Locke.
Okay.
So, obviously, Spartan Locke, the character in Halo 5 who is assigned by Oni to go and hunt down the Master Chief, following him going rogue at Ardent Moon. And I think that Locke is a character who is quite underrated, I would say. He gets a lot of hate because obviously I think it's fair to say that the story that Halo 5 ended up portraying perhaps went in a different direction than we were all expecting. But I think that he's a really, really cool character. And I think that actually he has a really, really rich background, which I'd like to see explored more. I mean, Nightfall just provided a taste of that with giving us a look at some of the only sanctioned operations that he'd been a part of. But I think there's definitely a lot more hidden by black ink, I suppose, because it would be classified, that this character has done. And so I actually have quite an affinity for his character, and I really hope that we get to explore more of it in the future.
Yeah. So you're one of the few that are on Team Locke, I guess. That's good to hear.
Yeah. But with all that said, in terms of the Mega Construx world, there have only ever been 3 Spartan Locks released in total. There was one in a Toys R Us exclusive set called Smuggler's Intercept, and that was him in his Hazardous Ops Oni gear that resembles ODST equipment. Then there was one which came with the Vulture, which I believe was released around
2015 or 16, I think.
2015,
yeah. It's 2015, because it had the tie-in rec pack for Halo 5. And that was just an all-grey kind of covert ops colour scheme lock. But the one I have chosen for my favourite figure of him is the Spartan Lock figure from the Fireteam Cyrus 4-pack.
Okay,
Um,
nice.
Oh yeah.
Purely because I think that while the silver paint apps, where they've kind of done the dry brush, don't work particularly well on many of the figures, Locke is one of the figures where that actually really complements his colour scheme. Because you get the blue kind of showing through and it looks really good. And he also has got the helmet paint, which looks fantastic. He's got some paint on his Under Armour, which looks great. And he's also got the iconic battle rifle painted in the Halo 5 colour scheme. So all in all, it's a great figure and a really good rendition of, like I say, a very underrated character.
I've never really liked his armor. Maybe just have never gotten used to. I think it's just his helmet, right? Like, because we're so used to like Chief's wide visor, I guess, and they probably designed it this way on purpose. Is it almost looks a little menacing, right? The way that his little visor just has this small little space. So I've never been able to buy into it, but it kind of has grown on me. I didn't like it right away, but I've gotten used to it, I guess, over time.
Yeah. Well, it's something to touch on with which makes the Fireteam Osiris pack for the Spartan Lock better is they included the shoulder pads. In previous character designs for him, he's missing that, and he looks goofy without he looks like thin, and obviously a Spartan Lock is pretty big, so I think having the shoulder pads on there just really adds to the design. I don't mind the gray, the silver color on the Lock so much because it's kind of more his color. It looks a little more ridiculous on the blue team.
Yeah, it's a little much on blue team.
Because Chief he's green and he looks almost blue in that one. So, but I definitely dig the Lock, and Locke I wasn't a huge fan of Locke in Halo 5, but I wouldn't mind having a comic series that
I think that would be really cool.
Just to kind of expand on the character, because I think Locke kind of went the way of Arbiter in Halo 2. I remember Halo 2, everybody kind of didn't like Locke, so I think
didn't like Arbiter.
Be nice if you didn't like the Arbiter. So I think but now everyone Arbiter shows up in Halo 5 and everybody's like, yeah, it's this guy, he's back. So
right. Yep.
So I think hopefully Locke gets that same kind of treatment, but I definitely wouldn't mind seeing a comic of him.
Matt, what's your fifth favorite?
All right, my fifth favorite actually is just a dip in nostalgia. So, my fifth favorite is the Spartan 2 from the original Warthog design, the first wave. And so there was a lot of things that I just love about this figure. I think it was, and obviously I've never been a huge fan of the arm design for the 1.0 version or the earlier designs of these micro action figures. But I think they just nailed the color scheme on these guys so well. I love their visors and I love the green that they had. The movement's fine, but there was just something about these guys that just go, oh yeah, this is a Halo, this is a Spartan 2, Okay. And so I think if we look at, especially for me, if I look at the Spartan 2 designs that have come out later, we've gotten like Douglas or Jerome, they look bulky. And I think that this kind of, the first version kind of captures that sleeker Spartan design, whereas the other ones, it feels like the chest plate is just huge and they can't really move very well. I did a stop motion with Douglas and I just found it extremely hard for him to hold the rifle in front of him. So I definitely like this design better. And plus it was the first figure I got. So I just have a huge, massive love for these little guys. So the Spartan 2, the original,
very
the
nice.
OG is mine.
I like how one of your favorite characters is just Spartan 2, which is totally accurate, right? Because there's they are so a character within Halo, right? I love that. So what is your take on the old figure like armor versus like the new detachable armor and all that sort of stuff?
Okay, I definitely prefer the detachable armor. I think that's super nice, and I think it ties in very well with the lore. And I like that we're able to see the armor come off, and I like how it's separate parts. So I definitely prefer the newer armor, and especially the shoulder joints are much more. You give it a lot more range of motion. So I definitely like that. But I think we touched upon this earlier on the chat or on the call, is that the paint for the newer versions can't really seem to get the visors just right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think the earlier versions were able to nail that, especially the Spartan 2 visor. It just captures the helmet perfectly. And I think the newer ones, the proportions are a little off on the color. So I think they kind of could work on that. But that's definitely I'm definitely happy about the evolution of the new set, the new figures.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be a topic for one of our shows, is just comparing, older figures, the original figures, to the newer ones. But just curious about your overview or your insight on that real briefly. I'll go. Number 5 for me is Jerome. And I think Jerome is a cool character based off Halo Wars 2, right? I mean, he's only really featured in 2 bits of lore, bits of, Halo's content, but his character in Halo Wars 2 I thought was really good. I like his style, his character, and the fact that he leads this group of Spartans that were originally washouts, which is really interesting. So all of Red Team, the enhancements didn't take right away, and they gave it another try and ended up finally taking. So I think there's interesting story there. And I like how he's, just a basic, like, he's still in his original armor, right? His Mark 4, I believe. And he's just got a little bit of paint on it, so not too much, but enough to know, like, he's got the red stripe in his helmet, so enough to show that he's on red team, and he's got the little Spartan on his shoulder. And just having the nice little touch of his assault rifle, having a little bit of paint on that, and his his 092 on his chest too. I think they did a good job of portraying who he is, or at least what he looks like in the Halo universe.
Nice.
I agree.
And so this is the series 2. So you prefer do you like the newer Spartan 2 design, or do you prefer that over the original?
I go back and forth. So I feel like I'm not invested enough, even though I have a lot of stuff. Like, they both have merits, right? It took me, when I got my hands on the original figures without the removable armor, I was like, well, this isn't as cool as the removable armor ones. Like, the fact that you can kind of build these guys up and replace, not that I replace or swap out anything. It's like, well, these newer figures are so much cooler. But then I went and looked back at the older figures, and the level of detail and paint is at a different level than what the newer figures are. So I haven't decided yet on which one I like better. They both have. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will say that the Halo Heroes series has definitely done an excellent job of stepping up the paint design and the detail on them.
Yep, I totally agree.
I was going to say quickly with Jerome as well, it's nice to note that this is the only time, I think, that we've seen the MA5C design painted before they moved over to the rail system on the weapons. So it's the only time you can get the new AR sculpt painted like the MA5C, because the only other one that exists, I think, is the MA5B from Combat Evolved, but I think that was right when the rail system came in as well, so it's slightly chunkier.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Very cool. All right, Tom, why don't we keep going? What's your number 4?
Cool. So number 4 for me is Captain Thomas Lasky.
Yeah, okay.
Which one? Axios.
Yeah, Axios, indeed. I've gone for the Halo Heroes version.
Okay.
Just because, although the color scheme isn't as accurate as the one in the Infinity set, I think that it was really, really cool that Mega actually decided to make this character available in the Heroes line. Because obviously it means more people can get their hands on it, and I've seen people do really cool stuff where they like head swap with some of the Star Trek figures and make loads of different UNSC officers. Which is really awesome. And I just think in general it's nice to see Lasky getting some love. I mean, again, I think a bit like Locke, and this is probably a theme with a lot of my favourite characters in Halo at least. I think he's a little bit of an unsung character as well. Purely because for me personally, I really, really have a lot of love for Halo Forward Unto Dawn. and I know that it got a mixed reception. But for me, I just think that that was such an interesting look at life in the UNSC and how UNSC soldiers were trained to think about the insurrection and how they could combat the insurrection. And I think it really highlighted how much of a shock the sudden threat of the Covenant was.
Yeah.
So I think that that was a really, really powerful Halo story that was ultimately helmed by the character of Lasky. We saw it through his eyes. We got to experience those events with him. So I think that solidified him as a strong character. And then coming into Halo 4 and Halo 5, the way that he combines the sense of kind of captainship of the Infinity with some of his action sequences in Spartan Ops, for example, has just made him kind of a solid character. So I'm glad that we're able to get him in such an easy format as a Heroes figure pack.
Very nice. Yeah, he's a likable character for sure.
Yeah.
He's one of the few likable characters in Halo 4. Like with Del Rio, and I know Palmer takes a lot of heat, but he's one of the people that I feel like people are able to relate to. They've done a good job with him. Very cool. Let's move on. Number 4 for Matt.
All right. So number 4 for me is Arbiter, and this particular Arbiter comes from the Warthog run.
Okay, the recent one?
Yep, the recent one. There's obviously a lot of controversy about the Arbiter's color in game. It's sometimes some people say it's silver, some people say it's gold.
Right.
I always kind of looked at it in Halo 3, it looked a little more gold. So I kind of like how this the thing about it is that Arbiter is one of those characters that I remember when I first played Halo 2, I didn't not like the Arbiter because I thought his story was compelling. I just wasn't a fan of the missions that he was on. They felt kind of what's the word? Not dry, but just kind of a slog.
Sure.
And so I think that kind of took away from him. But when you look at the Arbiter and his story, he is probably one of the most awesome characters in Halo. So I think there's something about just him being a cool character. His armor is awesome. And so I think the Mega Construct figure really captures just the uniqueness of him. This the Warthog Run Arbiter has a lot of variations and just little highlights in the armor and little indents that I think just really kind of sell how awesome this armor is and the nobility that this armor once carried for the Sangheili.
Yeah.
So I definitely love this character and definitely glad that we got the Warthog Run set because that's an iconic moment in Halo.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
I agree with that. Made it onto my honorable mentions list, so that's one that I don't have to mention at the end.
There you go. Very nice. Yeah, I had an Arby as an honorable mention, but I forget there's so many of them. I didn't decide. So I'll just agree with you guys. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that's on my honorable mention too. Yeah. All right. So number 4 for me is Kelly 087. Big fan of Kelly from the lore, a lot of the extended lore she's involved in. Follow Reach she's in, many of the other books. Some of the books she's in, but she doesn't really say anything in it or doesn't have big parts. But I just think the fact that, they call out specifically that she is the fastest Spartan. I think that's really cool. And it took me a little while to get used to her helmet. Is it EVA? Is that what it is? The helmet? With a little bubble shield on top. Took me a while, and so a lot of it is the Spartans have a specialization to a degree, right? And so I always try to figure out why does she have the bubble helmet, right? What makes about her being the fastest and more of a close combat specialist. And I guess field of vision, field of view, being able to kind of see your entire periphery would make sense in that right. So I like the fact that they've tied that into her abilities. And there's only one other one, right? From the Firebase is the other one. So being the fact that there are only 2, I just feel like there's the paint applications on the blue team pack one. That's the one I'm talking about from the blue team. That they did a good job, and her shotgun is sweet. It's called Oathsworn. And it's got a nice little paint application, just a little bit of red on the back and some striping. But I guess there's a color, some white on top as well. But I think they did a good job of capturing the way that looks based off of what you see in Halo 5.
It's interesting that we've not seen her Legends armor from the package, because we have seen Fred
right.
and the Chief.
Yeah, that's a good
True,
point.
true.
Cool. Let's move on to number 3 for Tom.
Okay, so my third one is a Halo Wars 2 character. I had never played RTS games before Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2, and I think that Halo Wars 2 is one of the strongest stories that we've had in recent years for Halo.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it only feels right to have a couple of characters from that game on my list. So third place is Shipmaster Let Valir from
Yeah.
Halo Heroes Series
Mhm.
6.
Love it.
So Let Valir within the campaign doesn't actually have a massive role. He's in like a couple of cutscenes, basically just getting told off by Atriox for doing a rubbish job. But I think that his character design is really, really cool. You know, it takes some of the kind of Storm armor designs for the legs, I would say, and the arms, and combines it with this really kind of unique, almost classic but ornamental feeling style for the helmet and the chest armor, where it feels. I don't know, it hits that sweet spot where it feels new but familiar, and I really, really like that. And I think that in terms of color schemes as well, the silver and the red for the Banished faction looks really damn good on classic elite armor. Like it just looks so clean. So I really, really love this figure, and I love the inclusion of the energy sword as well, because obviously it's an iconic elite weapon, and having one that's got some nice kind of energy simmer details on it looks really, really awesome.
The Banish color scheme is so good.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Like,
it
I
is.
love it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Banish
mean,
race, please.
Yeah, I was going to say this is something that we could dedicate a whole episode to, but we need more Banish sets.
I know.
Where is my
I
blister back?
agree.
Right, the blister bag. That thing's so rad. Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, they make it into Halo Infinite. We'll see. We will see. Very nice. Matt, how about number 3 for you?
Okay, before I get to my number 3, Let Valir has been one of my white whale figures I've been chasing for ages.
He's
You're
escaped
rubbing that
you.
salt on that wound. It's
man.
bad. So what happened with Let Valir was that it was the time where Toys R Us closed in the U.S.
Okay.
And it just slipped through my fingers, and you can see it on Amazon, but it's like way overpriced. So I'm holding out that one day I'll find this guy, but he is an awesome figure, and the color scheme on that guy is superb. All right, my number 3 is the one and only Emil, and this is the Halo Heroes edition. I don't remember exactly what series he came in, but Emil immediately was one of the characters that I thought just had one of the most badass character designs in Reach.
That helmet.
I think just the idea that he sketched, he scratched this skull onto his helmet, and I kind of like the idea that he was kind of selling into that idea that he was an intimidating figure to the Covenant. So I think the figure does an excellent job of capturing just the color scheme. I think they do an amazing job of just kind of having those splashes of red and white on his armor that really kind of just captured the little details. Especially there is a previous Emil, and it came with just a mongoose. And I remember the Emil, which is the most iconic part of his design, is the skull, and you could barely make it out on that first design.
Oh yeah.
So this one they really hit the ground with, yes, there is a skull on there. And I like the inclusion of the knife and his iconic shotgun.
Yeah, the knife's cool.
So the knife is cool.
Yeah.
So
gotta love a
definitely don't cut yourself. Definitely one of my favorite characters in Reach. And something that I think they really did a good job on the design of this Mega Construct figure.
Yeah, very nice.
I agree with that. I don't know if you guys have noticed on it as well, but if you look really closely, there's little scuffs on his armor.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
Yeah, they've not done it with like the other members of Noble Team, but I really like the fact that they chose to do it with him. It just makes him feel a lot more worn down and kind of like combat ready, which is awesome.
Lived in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Very good. All right. So number 3 for me is the Didact, the big boy. So there have been two. This is the biggest. This is the biggest minifigure that they've created. This guy is like, what? He's like 3 inches tall, almost, maybe almost
Yeah.
4. Like he's huge.
It's almost the size of a normal action figure.
Right. I know. He's a monster, and he's a monster. You know, in the lore too. He's like 10 feet tall or something crazy like that. He's huge. So I do have the one from the recent series, the anniversary Didact. And I was looking at them both together because I had received the one from the broadsword set first. And I was like, oh, this is pretty decent. And then when I got the new one, I did finally open it up recently. And I actually do like the original better. So I think that they did a better job on the broadsword version. Just the paint detailing. The figure is essentially the exact same.
Right.
You know, the articulation and, you know, the face mask. Like the mold is the same, but they did a little bit better job on the painting of the figure from the broadsword is really kind of the what sets it apart. I think the newer one, I have bad lighting here, but the newer one I believe is a little darker, and I think I do like the lighter gray as well from the original version.
Yeah.
And then the coloring of his I don't know, like, is it his flesh underneath there?
His
Like the
muscle,
red.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I like the coloring. It's more of a gloss, which I think makes it look a little bit more impactful as well. So yeah, definitely Didact. He's just a cool figure in the Halo universe, and he's a cool minifigure as well.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to number 2 for Tom.
Okay, so number 2 for me, another Halo Wars 2 figure, although this one could be perceived as Halo Wars. And I'm going to pretext this by dropping in a little nugget of lore knowledge. I nearly completely mucked up that sentence there because my brain is hitting sleep point again, but I'm going to persevere. So this character within Halo lore is really, really well renowned for being a character who is really kind of, I'm trying to think of the word. I suppose humble would be the best way of describing it.
Okay.
So this character is a captain of a ship within the Halo lore, but he is well known for taking the time out to actually go around and talk to his crew and find out how they're doing. And that means that he commands a lot of respect from his crew compared to some of the other captains in the UNSC who perhaps let their title and their place within the ranking system hold power over the crew. So, yeah, he's definitely not as popular, but still needs a figure at some point. Mega, please give us Del Rio. I want to run his 2020 election campaign.
Oh dear.
This figure is from Halo Heroes Series 3, and it is none other than Captain Cutter.
Captain Cutter! You could have been going keys that entire time. Love it.
Yeah, Captain Cutter. This figure I paid a premium for, unfortunately, but I am glad that I picked it up because I think that the kind of unique Spirit of Fire uniform that Cutter wears is really, really awesome. And I think that this is just another great captain to add to the collection. My only gripe with this one is the fact that it came with a black Magnum instead of a painted weapon. This was kind of that spot where they were, I think, experimenting with cutting costs on Halo Heroes, and then they kind of doubled down in the series after and went back to painted weapons and things.
Right.
It's all good because I had a painted Combat Evolved style Magnum, so he's just got that.
Well, he's got Serena there too.
Yeah, he does, which is really cool actually, because before he came with Serena, the only other way to get her was in the Elephant set, I believe. Yeah, she came in the kind of Halo Wars troop transport style version of the Elephant, which I want to say came out in possibly 2014. Yeah,
I think so.
That was the second elephant, right? Is that what the one we're
the
talking
second
about? Those,
much smaller, but it was kind of like a complete. It's basically the mega unit from the first Halo Wars game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I'm looking at it too. Now I'm doubting myself because who's the AI from Halo Wars 2? That's not Serena.
Oh, it's Isabel.
It's
Yeah,
Isabel
yeah,
because
it's
she's
Isabel.
orange.
Yeah, Serena you can only get in the elephant, I'm sure, which is
Oh,
why I
you're
sounded so
right.
confused.
You're right.
Okay,
It
that's
is
good to know.
Isabel.
Yeah,
Very cool. I love that pick. I love having because I mean obviously Halo and Spartans that and Covenant, that's a big thing. Um, I'm always drawn to like the standard Marines or the officers or like there's a scientist or two out there, or just like a generic captain. I love having those figures in the mix as well because they if you're doing some stop motion like you do, Matt, or if you're trying to tell a story with a diorama or something like that, it's nice to have those additional figures to help tell that story that you want to portray.
yeah, definitely.
Nice.
I mean, this is completely going off the rails here, but so I know earlier we mentioned the latest Halo set we've bought, but I've
Mhm.
actually just been able to track down and buy the Star Trek Guardian of Forever set for that exact purpose. So
Okay.
I'm now going to have four essentially civilian figures,
Yeah.
but also four civilian head sculpts that I can swap out, which I always think is really useful because if you've got characters like ODSTs, for example, or Spartans who are
Mhm.
Okay. Yep.
helmeted, when you're doing a stop motion or toy photography, if you've then got heads that you can swap out, you can sometimes add more personality to them.
Yep.
So I'm really, really excited to get that. Just going off on a tangent quickly.
Yeah. No, and
I
Call of Duty
definitely.
is a good place to get those as well.
Yeah.
Call of Duty is a lot of
Oh, good
regular
call.
heads. Mm-hmm.
I definitely enjoy the head swaps. The only thing that I've never been able to figure out is why the hell did we not get a head swap for George? He
Oh, I
usually
know.
Yeah,
he
he
has
should have had
he
one.
has his helmet off the most out of all of them.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory on this, and I think it's because obviously they have to stick to a certain budget for each figure. And at the time, obviously he came with his machine gun, which is already quite a
Mm.
big piece, and it's not massively widely used now. But he also came with the backpack piece, so I think that those combined
Mm.
probably ate up the parts allowance.
Yep, that's probably right.
Mm.
It's worth noting though, the Forge that comes in the Forge Hog set with the Goliath, his likeness to Forge isn't as good as the Halo Heroes packs one. So you can potentially use the head sculpt from that Goliath set for George.
Okay.
Because I've seen
Yep.
some people do it and it works okay.
Nice. Good call.
Just a note, if you listen to Podcast Evolve, you know that there's a theory out there that George is still alive. So he could still be alive, technically. Just talk to Aaron Campbell. There's a chance. There's
I
a
was
There
waiting
is.
for you
There
to
is.
say there's a Fury at George's Forge, and I was going to be like, whoa.
Oh,
Whoa.
that'd be
George
intense.
did time travel.
Forge could technically be alive too, somehow.
Yeah. I wouldn't
There's a
mind that.
chance. All right.
I wouldn't mind Noble Six being alive, to be honest.
Are you teeing up near number 2?
Yep.
Very nice.
So my number 2 is Noble Six. Probably one of the most interesting characters within the Halo lore because obviously in the game you can change different armor and different gender. So obviously there's quite a bit of little leadway with Noble Six's character. So I kind of like that Mega Construct kind of stapled down like a canonical armor for Six.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that obviously the armor is kind of a more gray color scheme in the Series 10. Usually, I typically think of it as a little darker, but I really do enjoy the character of Noble Six, and obviously not a whole lot to his character, but I think there was a lot of little nuggets that kind of made him very similar to how Chief was in Combat Evolved, and so I just have a real nice affinity for the character because of those little things. And I think having him as a Spartan 3 and having him just as lethal as the Spartan 2s is quite a unique feat for Spartan 3. So I kind of, because he was ranked hyper lethal. So I
Hyper
definitely,
lethal, yeah.
Yep, I definitely love Noble Six. And of course, the other set that Noble Six also came in was it was a Gungoose. So
Yeah.
something with the Reach characters and coming with Mongooses and Gungooses for the first part. But the first one was not as detailed. Definitely not. This one has some nice blue color to it. I actually love the gray though. And it has, and his shoulder pads actually kind of look like what we see on Chief in Infinite. So little touches on Noble Six, and I think they actually did an excellent job on Six's visor in this one. There's not a very bad job on it, so I really enjoy that. So 6 is definitely my pick. I'm a huge fan of the character, and I think they nailed it on the Mega Construx set.
6 is your 2. I love it. All right, now I am on to my number 2. My number 2 is going to be controversial for many reasons. So Commander Sarah Palmer is my number 2. And it's funny because I don't really like her armor. I'm not a fan of the Scout armor. So again, our lists are our favorite characters in Halo. She's one of my favorite characters. There's you know, she gets a bad rap because of that one quote. I feel like in Halo 4 and in Spartan Ops, she is, exactly. She's portrayed a much stronger character in Spartan Ops, and then also in the comic series. She's up and down in there, but I feel like she has a lot of depth. She got a lot of lore time, not only with the games and the comic series, but she also has Spartan Assault. She's a big part of that. So there's lots of Sarah Palmer stuff out there, and I tended to appreciate her more than others. So the fact that she's the commander of the Spartan 4s, I like that she is sassy and she's very confident. Sure, she's missed a shot or two on Halsey, but at the same time, how can you kill Halsey, right? Like, nobody's gonna kill Halsey.
Yeah, she's got plot armor.
Exactly. So but looking at her figure, like, it's too like bright white. It's like this weird color, and like, I'm not a huge fan of the Scout armor to begin with. I like that her 2 pistols, like, I think that's a cool I guess her go-to in the Halo universe is the dual pistols. I think that's carried over from Spartan Ops, but the figure itself isn't that great, but I'm a fan of Palmer, so she makes my number 2.
Nice. Well, the thing I would say about the Scout armor is I'm not opposed to it. The only thing that I really dislike is the shoulder pads. They're just too big. They are too big. Yeah, they look ridiculous, and I don't mind the rest of it, but I agree.
You'd think they'd be more streamlined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with the face mask. Yeah, you would think so.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Colin. Palmer is for that one bum, that dumb line she does have in Halo 4. She is a very good character. Yeah, I do like that she's a bit sassy too, so that's a good part.
I think she is as well, because it adds a lot of dimension to her, and it actually gives her emotion. Like, I remember the one thing that's always stood with me, her character-wise, is that moment in Spartan Ops where the Knights come in and take Halsey, and then she like slams her fist down on the hollow table and it leaves the indentation in it. Yeah, I always thought that was really cool, because then you actually get a real feel for like the emotion of the character and how annoyed she is that she's got away.
She straight up boots that the artifact. Remember that? She just goes and kicks it. It's great, and she makes it work somehow. Just stop working, I guess.
Science.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's do our number ones. We're running a good long show for you. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the discussion. What's number 1, Tom?
I'm actually going to let Matt go for his number 1 first.
Oh, okay.
Because mine comes off the back of that, and I want to explain the reason why I chose this version of the character over the one that Matt's chosen.
Oh, I get to introduce the number 1. Okay, so obviously Halo is nothing without this particular character. He is probably the sole driving character of this entire series, and without him, it'd be nothing. And that is our Master Chief. Oh yeah, Captain Del Rio, everyone.
Right,
that
custom.
Guy is awesome. Yeah, custom. No, it's the Master Chief. Spartan 117 is my top pick, and this character has gone through numerous designs, more than I can count.
Yeah, there's got to be like rubbish, 50 of them.
Some were rubbish and some were superb. There isn't a whole lot that I would say differ. I do enjoy all of the different color schemes of the character, but I'd have to say that probably right now, my favorite is the Master Chief that comes in the Infinity set. I think the color of his armor is that kind of more green, metallic color that you see in Halo 4. So I kind of enjoy that kind of military look. And I know in Chief's history he has had he came in the Oni set, but I never was able to like that figure because they gave you the cracked visor helmet, and it just that's always one of the things that bugs me about Halo 5 is that Chief's visor is cracked, and I'm like, it's like when you drop your phone and you just like all you see is the crack. So like every time I look at that figure, I'm reminded of that cheap shot, that lock.
Oh, the backhand
landed on Chief. Yeah, I know, the backhanded Spartan 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so I definitely enjoyed having full visor Chief. I love the color on this one. Of course, I think one of the things that all of the newer versions of the Halo 4, Halo 5 design of the Mega Construx sets have nailed our Chief's shoulder pads and his chest plate. In the previous mentioned broadsword set, I love how they have the design of Chief's his like scar on the side of his armor, that scuff mark. I love how they included that. And I think just all in all, I think they've done an amazing job with Chief. So I definitely think the color scheme is probably where I just rate where Chief is, because his design hasn't changed much. But so the Infinity Chief is probably where I land on right now as my favorite color.
Love it.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right, take it away, Tom.
Yeah, take it from there.
Yeah. So I was very much similar kind of thought. Similar vein. There we go. In terms of choosing Chief as my number one, because I think, without that character, we wouldn't have this franchise. So clearly, he deserves that spot. But for me, my number one is based on, again, colours and levels of detail, but also the visor itself. Because I was talking to Matt about this the other day, and my biggest gripe with the Infinity version of Chief is they cut the visor off, like, along the bottom. I don't know if they were trying to do the black outline around it, but it just doesn't look right on the helmet. And so, because of that, I've actually chosen quite a rare figure of Chief, and I'm not sure if either of you guys will know that this released or will have it. You might do. But they did... I want to say it was around the time between Halo 4 and Halo 5. It was kind of around the time the broadsword was on shelves. They released a Toys R Us exclusive, and I think it was exclusive to a couple of conventions as well, kind of foil bag version of Chief.
Yep,
And it was cool. It was his Halo 4 armor, but basically the broadsword design, but with slightly sharper visor paint, with silver paint for the kind of scuff marks on the chest, and it was also done in a darker metallic green colour, so a more accurate green colour than the one in the broadsword, which is a little bit flat in colour. And I just feel like, for me, it's always been like the definitive rendition of the Halo 4 Chief, and it's always been something which I feel like could only be topped by the visor outline on something like the Blue Team figure, but until they do that kind of outline on a figure with this colour scheme and this sort of look about it, I just think nothing's ever going to top it for me in terms of the Halo 4 and 5 armour permutation and where it sits in my collection.
I love it. I'm not familiar, so I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Is it on Mega's official site? Is there a shot of it? I don't think
it's on their site. No, it kind of just popped up out of nowhere.
Okay.
So I think that I'm sure it was an exclusive to one of the shows, possibly one of the Mexican shows. And it kind of happened like used to happen with some of the exclusives. So say, for example, you'll probably remember the San Diego Comic-Con Covert Ops version of this armor back when it was old articulation with the green visor and the sword. That figure kind of came out, and then a few months down the line it popped up at Toys R Us. This was sort of the same deal with this Chief, except it was already a slightly less well-known version of the figure because of the way it originally released. So when it popped up, a lot of people just kind of stumbled across it at Toys R Us. That said, I'm getting all emotional now because obviously Toys R Us no longer exists in the UK.
No,
they're back though. The brand is back in the US.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
I
missed that.
They opened a couple stores recently.
They're like pop-up stores, aren't they? Although they've done
No, they're full-on stores.
Yeah, I saw a tour.
Oh, I'm
It's
glad.
really weird though. Like the new format, they've tried to make it so interactive now.
Yeah, right. We'll see. I
Hmm.
haven't been to one yet. There's not one nearby me, but I think we're all hopeful that they do make a comeback.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice, guys. So obviously my number one is going to be Atriox from Halo Wars 2 because
Fair
he's the
pick.
biggest star in all of Halo, right? But yeah, Atriox, I don't know, for whatever reason, I did love how they um I don't know. I'm drawn to villains that actually have some character depth to them, and they did a really good job of giving Atriox like the reason that he like defied the Covenant, right, and went off and started his own faction, his own banished group,
Oh
because
yeah.
he wasn't being treated well, and he saw that the Covenant was full of crap, right? And
Hmm.
but he also felt the need to, create this group of they're not outlaws, but they're a group of survivors, right? And they're out and
Yeah.
they're doing their own thing, and it's just
Renegades.
yeah, exactly. And the whole all art style in Halo Wars 2 is great. And I love his armor, how it seems like it's not like polished and highly manufactured. It's kind of patched together, and
Hmm.
they've done a good job of portraying that in the minifigure. The two problems with the minifigure itself. There's only really the red gummy, I think, of Atriox. That's the only other figure.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
picked this one. I wish the brutes in general were bigger because they are huge in the Halo
Hmm.
universe, and having them stand at the same height as a Spartan or a Captain Cutter is a little weird. So I'm hoping they figure that out
Yeah.
in future releases when they do bring the Girolane back into the lore. I'm hoping they do. And then his weapon, the Chainbreaker, I think is a little too small
Mm.
as well. I think it seems bigger in the art and in the games than what it's portrayed with here. Because then you see there's the other Halo Wars. We've named a couple of the Halo Wars leaders. The Decimus, he has this giant. He has one of the gravity hammers, and it's huge. And then
Hmm.
meanwhile, Atriox, who's the leader, has this little club when it comes to the minifigure. So I don't think they the coloring on it is good, but I just wish it's a little bit more, a little larger.
I think he
Hmm.
kind of adds a little bit more menace to his character, though, doesn't it? Because he doesn't feel the need to have some kind of massive hammer to compensate for something. He's
That's
just
true.
that sounded wrong, but you get you
And
get what
maybe it
I'm
is
getting
more
at.
accurate, but I have it actually on my shelf right next to Decimus,
Yeah,
and he's got this giant gravity hammer, right? So it just
Hmm. Hmm.
feels weird that he has this small little tiny baseball bat. Uh,
Atriox is one of the coolest villains in Halo, and I don't think there is a bad villain in Halo. I think all of them are fantastic, but there was something cool about taking Atriox and kind of flipping the idea of what we think of as brutes as like these dumb kind of
yeah,
mindless idiots that you just are bullet sponges, and kind of give you this idea of this like thinking brute, and this brute that can engage in a battle strategy as good as the Arbiter, or something like that. And I think that was kind of a neat way of spinning this new villain. So he's as formidable as a brute, but he's got an added level of thinking that you never encountered before, right?
yeah,
And so I think Atriox is probably he is definitely the coolest brute. And I think every time I want to just like see how cool Atriox is, I watch that I think it was the E3 Halo Wars with the White Buffalo song, the I Know You,
Oh
Know Your
yes.
Enemy.
yeah,
I watch
right.
that all the time, still get chills. And just that, like, just showing them, like, you know, facing off in this
Hmm.
strategy style is like,
Yeah.
yes, this
It's
is
the
this
bit
is
when he
where
walks
Aatrox.
along and just slides his hand along the missile. I'm like,
Mm-hmm,
whoa.
mm-hmm. I'm like, yep, this is it. It's
Well,
about to
and
go down.
you mentioned the Arbiter, and I think the Covenant tried to get rid of him in almost a similar manner, right? Like the Arbiter was always sent to his
Yeah.
death, and like Atriox was the only one that ever came back from all these battles. It was just him, right? Like he was
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
survivor, and then people started because I think they always sent off his group to die. And he kept coming back. He kept coming back, and then the other Covenant races started to notice, and he gained a following and a reputation. So they did a really good job of building his backstory, and I've drawn to it. I don't collect any other action figures or much of the other Halo collectibles, but I have almost everything from Atriox they released. I have one of those. I have like the big 12-inch figure. I have the little nano metal figure. I have like a backpack hanger of him. So yeah, for whatever reason, he's one of my favorites.
I
He
was
is awesome.
gonna jump in and say one thing I really like with his character that isn't obvious on the Mega version, but is obvious on other figures, especially the Mattel one, is the fact that some of his armor, like you were saying, is cobbled together, but it's cobbled together from UNSC soldiers. I think that just makes him so much more menacing because there's got to be a story there of him like killing them in some brutal manner, and this is a trophy of that.
Yep.
And I think that's just like it just makes him so much more terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it also adds to his battlefield prowess because he wasn't like the other Covenant who just thought everything that the humans made was abominable or inferior. You could tell that he recognized certain aspects of human armor was superior, and so he would kind of patch it onto his and add to it, and it kind of makes him a bit more of a tactician than the elites even.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, very cool, guys. Well, thanks. That was fun. I loved going through this, and there was only a little bit of crossover too, which is cool, and it just shows you the vast breadth of minifigures that they've created. Very cool. So what I want to do now, if you've stuck with us through the entire time, is I do want to just say, hey, we mentioned it already, but let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the format. We want to know topics that you want to cover. If you want us to read emails or tweets or anything like that, just reach out to us. We'd love to have some community interaction on this. And we know there's lots of fans out there. It's like Halo is a niche, and then collecting Mega Bloks and Mega Construx is an even smaller niche. But there's a lot of people out there. There's a big community, so we'd love to hear from you guys.
Definitely.
Let's do a quick promote yourself before we get out there. So how can we reach you, Tom? How are you? What are you on the web, and how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, so I am a bit of a funny one. I'm kind of starting up to do all of this stuff because I want to get more involved in the Halo community. But the main way that you can reach me is through my Jurassic platforms. So your best bet is to find me on either Twitter or Instagram as Tom Jurassic.
Yes, very nice. Matt, how are you?
All right. So there's a couple ways you can get me. You can check out some of my stop motion videos at Pure Genius Lego Studios on the YouTube. And then you can also tweet to me at Pure Genius Lego on Twitter. And there I'm usually talking about Halo or talking about Justice League and, stuff like that. So follow me there and tell me how wrong I am.
Very nice. I'm on Twitter at Perkline, so you can reach out to me directly there. You can reach out, I'm on Podcast Evolved, I'm on Mission Debrief, so there's, different ways to get a hold of me there. But yeah, Twitter's probably the best way to do it. But otherwise, definitely follow Podcast Evolved. They're great if you're into Halo lore, a lot of fun, great group of people. And we'll probably feature some of them on the show at some point too. So yeah, that will do it for the show. Thanks for joining Builds with Bloks. Until next time, evolve.